Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Egypt announced on Saturday the discovery of an ancient treasure trove of more than 100 intact sarcophagi dating back to more than 2,500 years ago, the largest such finding this year. The sealed wooden coffins unveiled on site amid much fanfare belong to top officials of the late period and the Ptolemaic period of ancient Egypt. Now, this discovery is a huge one that was made with a press conference by Minister of Tourism and Antiquities, Dr. Khalid Al-Anani. The international press was present during the discovery, and that was something new for the international media. How far would that discovery help in boosting tourism in Egypt? What is its archaeological and touristic importance? In order to know more about these questions and answer these questions, we're very much delighted to have with us today Yomna Salama, our Egyptologist. Good day to you, Yomna. Very good morning to you.
Good morning, Hala.
Now, to start with, how do you see the importance of such discoveries in Saqqara?
Well, the importance of this discovery and all the previous discoveries actually that Egypt remains mentioned all the time despite all the crisis that we are living today. In the media, the Egyptians are still working, unearthing, discovering new discoveries, although all over the world there is a lockdown. So that's one side, that we are working under difficult circumstances, and we are achieving achievements also under such circumstances. And it's amazing that all, as you mentioned earlier, all the international media and ambassadors of foreign embassies were present yesterday in Saqqara. And of course, the word of mouth, and now almost every month we have a new discovery. So that's very important for tourism, because it keeps the name of Egypt and the new discoveries in Egypt always mentioned and always present on an international level.
Particularly Saqqara, Yomna, and that would make me ask you about Saqqara, if you could tell us a little bit about its history, its background, because so many people, including myself, are wondering how come all these treasures are found in Saqqara necropolis, and it keeps bringing out more of the ancient Egyptian civilization?
Actually, that's a very good question. Saqqara is one of the richest necropolises we have all over Egypt, because two things. The first thing, it's the oldest, one of the oldest, if not the oldest. It goes back to the pre-dynastic period, so we're even talking before the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt. And the second thing, it's the longest in use. So it has been used as a burial place from the pre-dynastic period all the way to the Greek Ptolemy and late Roman period. So you can imagine the huge amount of artifacts and monuments that are existing in Saqqara, and still, I'm not talking about the findings that are already unearthed, but I'm talking also about what's still beneath under the sand. So it's the longest in use, the oldest. And of course, Saqqara was a very important center, as it was the close to the ancient capital of the old kingdom, Memphis. And even when the capital moved to Thebes and Luxor in the south, Saqqara became like an administrative capital.
Yes.
And all the kings, even from the new kingdom, some of them like famous Hur Moheb, also like the high officials of the new kingdom, returned to be buried in Saqqara again due to its importance. So that clarifies why we are finding now all the monuments in Saqqara in particular. And that's also very important, because yesterday, I believe in the press conference, somebody asked Dr. Khalid Al-Anani, Minister of Antiquities and Tourism, and told them, how come now in Saqqara almost every month you have new findings? Were they found before and you're just doing this for propaganda for Egypt? And basically the answer came no. It's due to the fact of the richness of Saqqara. We are finding this on the spot, and the Egyptian expedition is working in Saqqara. And by the way, there's still more coming by the end of the month and the coming of 2021.
Yes.
So it's not like we have them somewhere stored and we are bringing them up now. No, not at all. It's
Actually, we don't need to do that because we have so
many.
many
We have
of
so
them
many,
that we are
exactly.
building new museums to display all these
Exactly.
artifacts.
So that question was like, people would be surprised, but again, Saqqara is very rich and still more and more beneath the sand. And this is not something unique for Egypt. It's a civilization of more than 5,000 years. You can imagine.
Yes. Yomna, you told me that Saqqara is very rich because of its significance as the early dynastic period. Would you tell us more about the early dynastic period and the early dynastic monuments, the most significant of them?
Well, we have monuments in Saqqara, and we have also a mummy for King Seknen Ra found in Saqqara from Dynasty 1 and 2. And we have, of course, lots of pyramids from the Old Kingdom. We have the most significant, of course, is the step pyramid of King Zoser, which is actually the first pyramid on planet Earth, dating back to almost 2,700 years BC. So between 2,700 BC, 2,900 BC, different historical resources, but this is indeed the oldest pyramid on planet Earth. And in addition to that pyramid, we have other pyramids. We have pyramid of Osirkef, we have of Ones, we have a pyramid of King Titi, we have tombs of high officials. That's all the Old Kingdom. I'm talking about 2,500. We're still in the Old Kingdom and the early dynasties of Egypt, and lots of tombs of high officials. We have also burial shafts, like the ones we got out from them, the sarcophaguses and the coffins of last month and of yesterday.
Yes.
So we have lots of burial coffins. And then we move, burial shafts, sorry, with coffins and statues. We have also, if we move a little bit into the middle and the beginning of the New Kingdom, we have tombs of high officials as well. We have, stepping into the Greek and Ptolemy period, we have the Serapeum. We have old ruins and ancient ruins of ancient churches and chapels in Saqqara. So the following actually shows that throughout the history of Egypt, Saqqara is a very important place. And yesterday, of course, to have this amount of sealed coffins, it's an amazing, amazing discovery.
Yes. Tell us more about the discovery. Tell us more about what has been discovered, because what I have seen also, the colors on the coffins, they seem as if they were painted a few days ago.
Yes.
They are intact. Tell us more about that discovery.
Well, around 100 coffins were discovered in a burial shaft sealed. And when we say sealed, it means that most probably they have never been opened before. And we have inside them the mummy. The most interesting, you can maybe even sense the excitement I have here. The most interesting thing that we actually opened the sarcophagus and we showed the world a mummy. And I always say this is a living mummy. It's a dead person, mummified, but it's a living mummy because it reveals lots of secrets. We found out the age of the person. It's a male mummy, the one that we were x-raying yesterday. It's a male mummy. We found out from the teeth and the jaws that the person is an adult male, around 30, in his 30s. We found out the age of death, most probably died in late 40s, early 50s. We found that the heart is still inside the body. All the organs were extracted for the mummification process. The brain was completely damaged and taken through the nose. All this by x-raying and examining the mummy on the spot, and it was shown to the world. So the mummy is still revealing the secrets, and when we continue working on the mummy and we can see the DNA, we can reveal even some of the diseases maybe, or some of the illnesses that this person suffered from, which will tell us more about what was common during that period of time. Indeed, the mummy revealed also that it belongs to an high official, late period, not a royal mummy, but a high official. The arms were crossed in an Osiris way, which is a traditional way for Osiris, the god of the dead and the underworld. So it was actually a wow moment for everybody who was there.
Yes. In what way would that discovery help in boosting tourism to Egypt?
Saqqara now is already being placed as a full-day tour, and in some other programs as 2-day tours. So in the past, we used to do Saqqara like a half day. That was the traditional classical standard tour. Saqqara half day, and then we moved to another spot, maybe Giza or Dahshur, where we have the bent pyramid and the red pyramid and so on. Now, people working, preparing touristic programs for the coming season, Saqqara is one full day. So people would spend more time in Saqqara. Of course, as you mentioned, this helps boosting tourism because all those discoveries, if you are a tourist and you're thinking about coming in Egypt, the first thing when you see this in the media, the first thing that pops to your mind, I want to go to Saqqara, I want to see all that. Although that the coffins that we found last month were moved to the Grand Egyptian Museum, and those coffins also will move to museums, but still the burial place in Saqqara. So people will visit the burial shaft, visit the tombs, visit the place where this discovery
has been made.
Yes,
exactly. And do you think that perhaps this would draw people or attract people to even dig more into knowing about the ancient Egyptian civilization? It's not just the pyramids, it's not just what you can see in the Egyptian Museum or even in the Grand Egyptian Museum after its opening, but rather that you would really want to know more about the secrets of the ancient Egyptian civilization. Would that discovery help in doing so?
Yes, every single discovery is like a teasing thing for anyone who has passion for history or archaeology or even passion for traveling to know and read more about Egypt. Yesterday, for example, after the press conference, I was walking in El Mu'izz Street, and some tourists were asking about directions. And then they told me on the spot, we saw in the media what you found today in Saqqara. So, and they are learning about it and reading about it and asking about it. Friends on Facebook and social media sending us emails and tell us more about the discovery. So indeed, that will make them interested to read more about Egypt. And the most important thing is the link we have between the past and the present. This link shows also, again, that Egypt is creating civilization as we used to do 1,000 years ago. We are working under difficult circumstances, we are doing achievements, and actually I'm very proud that we started in the past. It was maybe the spotlight was not actually strong enough on such discoveries due to different circumstances, but now every single discovery, it's with a great spotlight and the media is covering, and that's very important.
Indeed. So many discoveries have been made in Saqqara, as you said, Yomna. What is the most significant of them, in your own personal opinion?
Okay, it's good you said in my own personal opinion.
Personal opinion.
Well, in my personal opinion, I'm very fond of mummies, and I call them the living mummies. So for me, every mummy in the found coffins, even if they do not belong to kings or pharaohs, are very important. Mummy, I can know lots of things. I can know about, as I said, about the diet, what they ate. I can know about their illnesses and the most common illnesses they suffered from. I can know about age of death. I can know about the body structure. People used to think that the ancient Egyptians were huge people and tall. Actually, they were not. Yesterday, the mummy shows that it belongs to a male, average height 160 to 165. And all the mummies we have been finding almost around this height. So that clarifies the misunderstanding which is common people think the Egyptians were...
That was linked to building the pyramids and the myths surrounding building the pyramids.
Exactly, and even those who were building the pyramids were not big.
Yes.
They were medium.
It's because it's very mysterious and it pops so many questions in anyone's heads. How come the pyramid has been built using all these huge stones with normal people, and then all the other theories started to generate. Oh, they could be aliens. Oh, they were slaves. Oh, all the myths started surrounding building the pyramids.
That's exactly what happens, and we meet people with such ideas, and that's why I say the mummies. Our living mummies are very important in my personal opinion, because they can tell us more. And the mummies, in my personal opinion, the mummies are the evidence, the scientific evidence that the Egyptians achieved immortality. They always wanted to live, and they always liked life after death and eternity. And finding their mummies in this perfect condition, intact, talking about them, mentioning their names, sooner or later we will know the owner.
That's immortality.
That's immortality. So for me, the mummies are the most important.
Yes, and that's why they documented everything about not the secrets of their civilization. I mean, there remain secrets like mummification, for example, but their daily life, so many aspects about their civilization were all documented.
Exactly. The Egyptians were obsessed about documentation, and that shows the mentality of an ancient Egyptian person, that they knew the importance of passing the information from one generation to the other. And they wanted the others to know their science, what they achieved. So they started to document and they write. We say the Egyptians, they wrote like crazy. They wrote on everything. They invented sheets for writing from the papyrus plant, when the walls of the tombs and the temples and the pyramids were not enough for them. So the need of documentation made them actually invent paper, the first nation in the world. And as you said earlier, but they were clever enough not to reveal all the secrets, and they left the hard work for us to find out the secret of mummification. And I believe we will find one day.
Because it was all about immortality. They were the people who believed in immortality, and they wanted to be the ones who keep this to themselves. They wanted to show the whole world that they had a great civilization, but at the same time, they wanted to keep their own secrets of immortality to themselves.
Exactly. This is exactly what they wanted. And also, on another practical reason, the mummification in ancient Egypt was not done for free. It was according to your financial ability. You would get different kinds of mummification. It was like A, B, C, and D class.
Yes.
And that was the business of the priests. So it's like a good chef. If you have the recipe, you're not going to share the recipe with everyone.
Exactly.
So the mummification stayed as a secret in the family of the priesthood from one generation to the other, till it completely vanished by time, when the religion and the cult and the traditions changed by the coming of Christianity and then the coming of Islam into Egypt.
Yes.
And I would say I can't wait to see the royal mummies leaving the Egyptian Museum in Tahrir and going to their
There was a rehearsal in Tahrir a few days ago.
Yes.
There was a rehearsal for that.
We saw that, and it's going to be an amazing parade, actually, an amazing parade for those kings leaving their old
Speaking of
home.
which, I also heard, or I have seen some news reports saying that Egypt started booking huge screens in squares in world cities, major world cities, so that the broadcasting, the live broadcasting of that major event would be seen by the whole world.
Yes, and that's very important. Again, the living mummies, they are leaving from their old home in Tahrir Museum, downtown Cairo, to the new museum, the Nemik Museum, Civilization Museum, and this is where they will enjoy their new home.
Other significant discoveries were made in Saqqara, Yomna, including the discovery of mummified animals. And that perhaps shed the light on one important aspect about the ancient Egyptian civilization and their relationship to animals, and how they treated animals sacrificed animals, or even saw them as holy creatures, such as the cats, for example.
No.
And that was again shedding light on another part of the ancient Egyptian civilization. How do you see that? Because so many types of animals, insects, baby cats, cubs, scarabs,
Yes.
exactly.
That's also a very important point, that also to clarify the misunderstanding that the ancient Egyptians worshipped animals. Myself, I am personally one of the believers that they valued the animals due to its adjectives and link to their cult and religion, and they sacred them, as you said, but they did not worship the animal itself. So this is very important, to sacred an animal because of adjectives related to you in the daily life. And the ancient Egyptians, we have a map showing you in the different towns and cities of Egypt which animal had an importance and which animal was actually dominant in this area. Like in Komombo, the crocodile, like every area had its own animal, and the Egyptians feared some animals, so they sacred them, and other animals were related to legends, religious legends they have, and animals were very helpful to them in the daily life, so they became very important for them. And I'm going to give some examples to shed light on that briefly. The cow. The cow was chosen as the symbol of motherhood, beauty, mercy, kindness. Why the cow? Because simply the cow, with its kind nature, helps them in the field, gives them milk. You make all the milk products from the cow. And beauty, if you look to the eyes of the cow, is a very beautiful animal. So that's why the cow. People say the cow, beauty, motherhood, child. Yes, because it's related in their daily life to all the help they need. On the other hand, you find, for example, one of the representations or the form of god of evil is the Set, maybe the hippo. Why? It's an animal that attacks the fishermen all the time in the river Nile. So they fear the hippo. They fear that it attacks the fishermen. So that's how they related things. The cobra, which is protection, is always in the desert. So they refer the cobras protecting their graves and tombs and so on. So the sacred animals,
and symbol of power as well, because it was on the crowns of the kings
yes,
and queens.
Yes, exactly. And many of the
we can dedicate a whole episode of the breakfast show to talk about animals in ancient Egyptian civilization. But again, it was strange for the world to know that the ancient Egyptians mummified the animals. I mean, mummifying the bodies was acceptable because it's part of the ancient Egyptian civilization, that the immortality that we talked about. But the animals was something
they want
new.
them in the afterlife as well,
and that was something, and that was, this did not happen in any other civilization or culture, to the best of my knowledge.
The Egyptians are unique in their civilization,
and perhaps that civilization would keep telling us more. As you mentioned, Yomna, perhaps more discoveries will be made in Saqqara, Necropolis, and other areas around the country. I'd like to thank you very much, Yomna Salama, our Egyptologist. Thank you very much for being with us this morning.
Thank you for having me, and looking forward to being with you again.
Thank you, Yomna. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. So much coming up. We'll be talking about sports in the upcoming segment with my colleague Nermina Abdurrahman. Stay tuned.